737, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Did you hear? I'm not going to do it now, but did you hear what J.D. Vance called Senator Alex Padilla? I've got some great audio coming up here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I do want to focus on this segment. I do want to focus on non-Iran related content, because I've been doing it for a couple of hours now. There's a lot of other things that are going on, and I want to cover that in this segment. So, for example, we all know what is going on with Whoopi Goldberg and the fact that she said something so incredibly ridiculous. The reason I'm revisiting this again, I think this is going to be my third time, is because I was going to leave this whole thing alone. Just so you know, she has been getting obliterated for saying this. Whoopi Goldberg, she's on The View, and she said,
I think it's very different to live in the United States in 2025 than it is to live in Iran.
Not if you're black.
Not for everybody.
Not if you're black.
Guys, don't go to...
So you've got, of course, again, Whoopi Goldberg breaking the internet, not in a good way, last week when she said that black people in America had it worse than people living in Iran. Now, Wesley Hunt, this dude just rocks. He's the black congressman out of Texas. He represents the Houston suburbs, and he dissected everything that she said, and he blasted Whoopi Goldberg's comments. Listen to this.
My district in the great state of Texas is actually a white majority district that President Trump would have won by 25 points. As I said, I'm a direct descendant of a slave. My great-great-grandfather was born on a Rosedale plantation. I am literally being judged not by the color of my skin, but by the content of my character. That's the progress, because, like, a lot of white people had to vote for me.
Love it.
A lot.
Yep.
So I don't even ever want to hear Whoopi Goldberg's conversation about how it's worse to be black in America right now. That's a bit far. And my father, who's 75 years old, he was a man that was in the French quarters that had to go get a sandwich to the back door of the building. And his son is now a United States congressman in a white majority district in Texas as a Republican. That is America. That's America. So let's celebrate that.
Yes, let's celebrate it. There's so many things. There's so many examples of massive amounts of progress. Obviously, we've had a black president of the United States in Barack Obama. So it is so easy to knock holes through Whoopi Goldberg's really just incendiary comment. And I guarantee you, she's going to come on today and people are going to be like, watching her and praising everything that she says. It'll be interesting to see if she has anything to say about the absolute mountain of criticism that she got for saying that, here in America today in 2025, for black people, it is worse living here in America than if they lived in Iran. And I went through I don't want to revisit the whole thing, but I went through on Friday, I think we may have podcasted it, what people in Iran have to go through, particularly gay people, by the way. So you've got Wesley Hunt, and he just had some incredible things to say. By the way, he's right. His Houston suburbs that he represents, he's right. A lot of white people did vote for him. That is huge progress. Then, of course, you have, this was on Bill Maher, by the way. Then, of course, you had the renaming of buildings and bases and ships that have come up. Bill Maher talking about how President Trump is renaming these buildings and bases and ships back to their original names, including those originally named after, oh Lord help us, Robert E. Lee. Listen to what Wesley Hunt says about that.
Trump is putting the Robert E. Lee name back on buildings. Are you down with that?
So when I was at West Point, I actually lived in Robert E. Lee Barracks when I was there. And as I said,
Robert E. Lee went to West Point.
Yes, he did. That's why the barracks is named after him.
Duh.
And so my brother, sister, and I are matriculated through West Point. We all graduated. And I'll never forget walking under the threshold of Robert E. Lee Barracks and think to myself, damn, this is one hell of a country. Because only in America can someone like me walk into a building named after a Confederate general and then be a successful West Point graduate. If we start changing the names on buildings, then every single building would be named Jesus Christ based on perfection. Let's talk about where we have come from. Well, maybe not to you, but to us. Maybe not to you, but to us.
I mean, and he's obviously right. Congressman Wesley Hunt. I mean, you've got buildings named after Barack Obama. Do you know how many people he killed in the Middle East with his drone strikes, or how he spied on journalists? So are we suddenly, you can't have a building or whatever, a ship or whatever it might be, named after you unless you're perfect? You have buildings named after Joe Biden, who took part in the biggest political cover-up in the history of politics, whether he knew it or not. But the point is, as he's making it here, is that as a black man going to West Point and walking into a building named after a Confederate general. And if Congressman Hunt, if he can accept that, all of these hand-wringing white liberals or the NAACP types, they need to accept it. But they won't, because all they can do, all they want to do is try to cause division. That's what they do here in America, is they like to cause division. And by the way, yes, they did talk about the statues.
I bring that up because I want to talk about the progress, and the idea of us changing names on buildings actually doesn't harken us back to times where they weren't as good.
And statues,
and how
too?
can we not? Oh, I am, my wife is, I've been black my whole life.
Yes.
So far, still. My wife is white, and we have 3 biracial children, and I cannot wait to show them and take them to places that wasn't always the case. There was a time when your mother and daddy could not be married. My children are going to have the opportunity to be second lining down in New Orleans, and then my wife is from Iowa. They'll be on a farm with their grandfather in Iowa.
Yep.
That is America,
yes.
and I do not want to take down these statues and change the names of these buildings because they're a reminder of what was, and if we don't remember it, we are doomed to repeat it.
I believe that is applause worthy, and that is Congressman Wesley Hunt, who has out of Texas, who has clearly a really, really good political future. So just a great answer to Whoopi Goldberg. And again, my dismay at the whole Whoopi Goldberg thing isn't that she said it. I mean, let's all be honest. The woman's clearly not a rocket scientist, Whoopi Goldberg, but it's that ABC and The View, they pay her so much money to say such stupid things. And yet day after day, she continues to do it, and ABC continues to pay her. It is stunning. It is 7:45. Time to check the roads on WTN. 7:45 on Super Talk 99.7. About the weather, it's going to be really hot. High of 95 today, some scattered thunderstorms maybe. Going to feel like it's going to be 100 degrees. Tuesday and Wednesday, even hotter. It's going to be 96 degrees. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News. Real quickly, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, he has been released. Breaking news. A judge orders the release of they say, this is the post-millennial, the alleged human trafficker, Kilmar Maryland dad Abrego Garcia, pending trial. So this is from the Tennessee Star. U.S. Magistrate Judge Barbara D. Holmes has now ruled that Kilmar Abrego Garcia will be released into an ICE facility. So it's not like he's going to be walking around. But what's crazy is that this judge, Judge Holmes, saw the testimony of investigators who said that he smuggled kids and adults. But she said the prosecution failed to make their case. I don't, and maybe I'm not all that smart from a legal perspective, but if you've got a grand jury that looked at all of this evidence and said, yeah, there's enough here for him to stand trial. But then the judge, the magistrate judge says, oh no, the prosecution didn't make their case. I'm just trying to figure out how in the heck did the grand jury, how are they convinced, but the judge isn't? Maybe because the judge is a leftist judge. I don't know. But we all do know that Kilmar Abrego Garcia stopped in Middle Tennessee, smuggling illegal aliens and all kinds of other nasty accusations. Remember now that he's got a new lawyer. Remember this? We talked about this on, I think it was Friday. Kilmar Abrego Garcia's new attorney is the son, you can't make this stuff up, of former Mayor Carl Dean. Guy's name, is it Rasco? Rasco Dean? His family gives money, by the way, to help aid immigrants, and I'm assuming illegal aliens as well. Abrego Garcia, you ever wonder how one guy can get so much highfalutin legal representation? Listen to this. Abrego Garcia is additionally represented by multiple attorneys at Hecker and Fink, the New York-based law firm that in 2020 received $7 million from Democratic mega donor Reid Hoffman to fund the civil lawsuits filed by, wait for it, E. Jean Carroll against President Donald Trump. So clearly the reason why Kilmar Abrego Garcia is getting all of this, again, highfalutin legal representation is because they want to ensure that this guy goes free, because that'll be a huge, huge defeat for one President Donald Trump. So that is the latest on him. Yes, eventually he will be going to eventually he'll be going into an ICE facility. We'll see if they ultimately end up deporting him or what, but that is a story that we continue to follow. Apparently J.D. Vance, you know the story of Alex Padilla, right? So he's the senator, and he storms into the press briefing where you had the press briefing going on, and he's got all of these questions that he wants to ask Kristi Noem, and he ends up getting hauled out by the Secret Service. And the reason he got hauled out, he purposely took off the lapel thing that showed that he was a member of the Senate. He took it off. The reason why he took it off is because he knew that he was going to go in there acting like a fool so that he could make a scene, so that it would get on camera, so that the Democrats would be able to say that the Trump administration is violently not allowing them to ask questions. The whole thing is performative. Now, I don't know exactly why, when, or where J.D. Vance called Senator Alex Padilla Jose, but apparently J.D. Vance did, and apparently Senator Alex Padilla is a little upset.
Currently the president of the Senate where you serve. He also went to Yale. I assume that he knows your name is Alex Padilla. Your response to him calling you Jose?
Well, he knows my name. He knows my name. Look, sadly, it's just an indicator of how petty and unserious this administration is. But he's the vice president of the United States. You think he'd...
Is he starting to cry again? Did you hear that? Honestly, this is the first time I've heard this comment, because I just saw this story. Is he starting to cry again? Because remember, he was crying last week, too, when he was up on the Senate floor and he was complaining about being thrown to the floor.
Yeah, I don't know, Dan. It's hard to tell.
It sounds like he's starting to cry again.
It's just an indicator of how petty and unserious this administration is.
Oh, my goodness.
But he's the vice president of the United States. You think he'd take...
Okay. When they will stop calling Donald Trump Hitler, J.D. Vance can stop calling him Jose.
Hear, hear.
Good Lord, man. I'd be willing to bet Donald Trump never cried over being called Hitler by Alex Padilla's party. It's so funny. Dude cries at everything, and yet he is the one calling the Trump administration unserious. Let's go ahead and listen to the rest.
Take the situation in Los Angeles more seriously. You think maybe he'd take a moment to talk to some of the families who have been impacted, have been terrorized, to feel what's really going on the ground. You saw him shaking hands with Marines, but did he listen to the Marines? Because we have, the report after report of the Marines, so many of the Marines themselves that don't want to be.
Did the Democrats talk to the family of Laken Riley? You don't have to wait. No, they didn't. They did not speak to the parents or the family of Laken Riley. So I don't know what this dude, you know what? This is more tone deafness from the crying left.
Either. That's not why they enlisted. Or if not the migrant families, how about the employers, right, who I know are speaking up because they're concerned about their workforce? We've got a lot of important work to do, but this is how the vice president chooses to act, and that says a lot.
currently the
I wonder if anybody wants to like slyly hand him a box of tissues when he's on the air. Oh, that is so funny.
Not even a person, just the hand. Just the hand.
Just the hand.
Into frame.
That's exactly right. So Scott Jennings torches Padilla and other political stunts because, this is all a political stunt. And I love what Scott Jennings has to say. Listen to this. It's long, but it's worth it.
Do you think it's political theater? Or do you think, hey, this is something that they're really serious about and they want the public to see them out leading the charge?
Well, I agree with some of that. They are emotional. And the last part, they do want the public to see, but what they're doing is clearly creating stunts. These are political stunts. I mean, this is designed to, this is sort of like porn for their base. There's a lot of capital right now in the Democratic Party for getting arrested. In the case of Padilla, who if you handed me $10 million right now, if I could pick him out of a lineup, I don't think I could do it. Charging into a press conference, lunging towards a stage. I mean, I'm sorry, but screaming that I'm a senator, I'm a senator. I don't know who you are. I still don't know who the guy is. And so that's not good enough. He's a U.S. senator. If he wanted a meeting with her, he could have had one. And he did get one as soon as it was over with. I find it curious he had a staffer posted up in there to film the whole thing. These are clearly stunts. The guy who went to lock arms and interfere with the detention of an illegal in New York City. I mean, the energy in the Democratic Party right now is around doing everything they can do to protect the illegal immigrant populations in the United States, which is still baffling to me. But more than anything, the theater kids have taken over, and they are desperate to create theater, and that's all it is. It is not serious to try to lunge at the Homeland Security Secretary in a press conference and expect any, reasonable outcome.
It's kind of funny too. I'm going to go ahead and repost this because if you watch the video, you've got Van Jones, and y'all know by now who Van Jones is. Van Jones is over there, and he's looking down over his glasses, and he's getting really upset at what Scott Jennings has to say, especially when he says, "Oh yeah, the theater kids have taken over," and clearly they have. So the whole thing is just epically funny, and it's true. I mean, remember I told you last week when I said, okay, so one of the things that the Democrats are right now trying to do, the Democrats, I kid you not, it was part of their goal to try to get arrested. And Alex Padilla is out there crying. It's unbelievable. All right. Anyway, it is 7:54.
Wow, you played that well. I thought you were crying.
My name isn't Jose. My name is Alex. Anyway, moving right along, Jay Harper has the news coming up at 8 o'clock. Jay.
I don't know if I can, Dan. But
Come on, Jay, you can get through it, man.
I'll try.
KGB, bring Jay some Kleenex.
Hey, I've already got some. Hey, how does Turkey play into the U.S. negotiations with Iran? Well, we'll let you know about that. And several Tennessee political leaders, they're weighing in on those airstrikes. We'll have all of that at the top of the hour. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.